This is Colors Fade from saberquit.com. Today we're going to take a look at Encased, a science fiction post-apocalyptic role-playing game developed by Dark Crystal Games and published by Black Tower Entertainment. The game is currently in early release on Steam for the PC. Check out the link in the description below for the full review. For now, here's a quick overview.
The year was 1971. The dome was discovered in a remote desert, a gigantic structure of unknown origin. Then, the leading world powers founded the Cronus Corporation with the purpose of researching it.
Encased is an isometric game that is something of a spiritual successor to the first two Fallout titles, with turn-based combat that is very similar to the Shadowrun series. It lifts its story directly from a science fiction novel that was published in 1992 called Roadside Picnic. The premise of the novel is that aliens have made a brief pit stop on Earth and have left behind trash that is surely junk to them, but is potentially powerful and dangerous technology for us humans. The character creation process will feel very familiar to anyone who's a fan of the Fallout games. Players put points into primary stats and skills and unlock abilities and perks as they level up. The way abilities get unlocked in Encased is a bit different than other games. Instead of just saving up points and unlocking the next ability under a certain skill tree, players need to be aware that some abilities require minimum scores in other skills as well. For instance, in order to unlock the rapid reload ability under light guns, the player must also have a minimum score in heavy guns and high-tech weapons. The game is played from an isometric viewpoint, but unlike many RPGs, it is not a static view angle. The game world is a fully rendered 3D one, and the player is free to rotate the camera and zoom it in or out, which is a very nice touch for a game such as this. The start of the game puts the player in Magellan Station, a multi-level underground facility where the player can learn the ropes of gameplay by talking to NPCs, engaging in quests, and looting containers. There's even a brief bit of turn-based combat to familiarize the player with the mechanics of the game. Anyone who has played any of the Shadowrun games will be very familiar with the turn-based combat and controls. Encased is an early release game with a clear roadmap to release. Its developers have experience on titles such as Divinity, Original Sin 2, and Mass Effect, and their experience shows. The game is clean, smooth, and has very few bugs. That's not to say it is without issues. Most of its problems are related to its design. In its current state, it's very uneven, unbalanced, and simply lacks polish. There are a litany of issues with the game, from poor item descriptions to awkward dialogue choices. But the biggest issues the game has are where it counts the most: quests and combat. One of the bigger problems with the game is its quest dialogue system. There are a lot of dialogue options, and the game is very good about informing the player if a dialogue option requires a skill check or a minimum reputation score of some kind. The problem is that almost every dialogue option in the game requires some kind of prerequisite score, which prevents characters from engaging in the game's content if they don't have the right distribution of skills, abilities, or reputation scores. More than once, my character was unable to either initiate a quest or complete a quest because he didn't have the necessary scores for the appropriate dialogue responses. If Encased is going to succeed when it is finally released, developers are going to have to do a better job of providing quest responses for characters that don't have desired scores. In an RPG like this, there should always be a way to solve a quest, even if it's a difficult path that possibly results in death. The other big problem with the game is its combat. It looks and feels very similar to the Shadowrun games, but in its current state it's incredibly unbalanced and frustrating. Enemies are either too difficult to kill, or they overwhelm the player with superior numbers. Ranged weapons have a frustratingly low chance to hit, making them almost pointless to use at a distance, and enemies evade entire attacks far too often. In a game like this, combat should be fun, and currently it's not. Finally, the game has a problem with how seriously it takes itself. It seems like the developers are trying very hard to make the game intentionally difficult for the player. For instance, healing resources are very difficult to obtain, and the money to purchase them is even more hard to come by. The game forces characters to eat and drink regularly, or suffer penalties to their stats as well. Some penalties can prevent the character from equipping weapons, which makes the combat even more frustrating than it already is. And from what I could tell, the requirement to eat and drink was not something that could be adjusted by difficulty level or toggled off. Encased has a lot of potential. It has a great sci-fi premise, an experienced team of developers, a smooth 3D engine, and some pretty nice artwork and music. But in its current state, it falls down where these sorts of games matter the most: quests and combat. There's still a long way to go until release though, and one hopes that Dark Crystal Games can balance and polish the game before then. If they can, they can have a real gem on their hands. Encased is currently in early release on Steam for the PC. I'm Colors Fade with SaberQuit.com. Be sure to click the link below for the full review, and thanks for watching.